Back we are then at the Chinnaswamy Stadium as we look ahead to match 15 of IPL 2023. It's a big clash. Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Lucknow Super Giants have both shown moments of brilliance. They've also tasted defeat early on in the season. RCB in more unlikely fashion with that bizarre turnaround by KKR, who now we must just get used to saying are going to spin out these bizarre results or two. LSG very good at home, lost in Chennai, so they need to pick up some points away from home. Can they do it at the Chinnaswamy where they've actually won the toss and are bowling first, which we know is an advantage given the game we saw previously between RCB and MI. We look ahead to that one on ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Shaun Tait is back with us. This is exactly the game a fast bowler dreams of, the one at the Chinnaswamy Stadium.
You actually invited me back. I can't believe it as well. No, it is. I actually had some good memories bowling here myself.
You have good memories, actually.
One good memory. So no, it's not a bad place to bowl.
You went, what, 1 for 55 and not...
Yeah, instead of 0.
0.
Yeah.
No, but you actually have a good memory of the Chinnaswamy?
I had one good game here, I remember. I think the wicket's changed a bit now, but I did do all right once here in the Champions League. Remember the Champions League?
Ah, yeah, a long time ago. Were there bigger boundaries back then? No? Just asking about...
I had some bad times here as well. So.
No, you're a good man. And we're going to talk about some fast bowling in a bit. Matt Roller's here as well. Ready to dig out some trends and patterns as the IPL of this season has finished, what? 15 games too, almost 11 days?
Yeah, we're about a fifth of the way through, I think, the league phase already, which has gone quickly. But yeah, very much looking forward to digging into it tonight. Really? It's gone quickly? Okay.
A fifth of the way through. Wasim, Jaffer, we must welcome you, are part of our family on ESPN Cricket 4, now part of the Punjab Kings family. But it's very nice of Wasim to offer us his insight on the other 9 teams of the tournament. So it's a good evening to you, Wasim. Disappointing result yesterday, but the team has started well. So first off, congratulations and good to have you for a big game. How are you doing, Wasim? Have you enjoyed the first 10 days of the IPL so far?
Yeah, good evening, Raunak. Yeah, it's been very good. We have started very well so far. Very unlike before. We're still obviously missing Liam. And Rabada hasn't played, so hopefully good things in store. But at least we have started on a winning note. Wasn't a good game yesterday, but yeah, we'll come back stronger.
Yes, I'm sure you will. And our focus is on the RCB game against the Lucknow Super Giants. KL Rahul returns to his home ground, his home state, and acknowledges that even though as captain of the Lucknow Super Giants, it's an away game for him. He says this is very much home. Enjoyed some time with RCB too, as well as the Punjab franchise. So KL Rahul's been around a bit. Now he features at the Chinnaswamy as Lucknow's captain. He wins the toss in bowls, and the biggest team news of the day is the return of Mark Wood. Both him and Avesh Khan missed the last game against the Sunrisers on a different surface than what we saw in their opening encounter against Delhi. But Wood is back now, and to bowl at a place which fast bowlers tend to have their challenges with. It's big news that you're playing Mark Wood, but I guess we can almost assume now, Teddy, that Mark Wood will, or the franchise will pick and choose the games Mark Wood plays. This is one of them that you want him to be going. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Obviously an important match. And this stadium is, it's a travelling, the ball travels here, right? So it's going to be interesting to watch if, the form he's in though, he's getting it right more often than not. But again, with express bowlers, if you get it wrong at this stadium, you can fly. So it'll be interesting to watch him,
Yeah. There's also a debut for Wayne Parnell in RCB colours, brought in as Reece Topley's replacement. Wonder if that means David Willey is out. But that is a conversation we will have in a little while from now. Let's have a chat on Mark Wood, shall we? We are expecting the best of Mark Wood here.
Well, I think he's been a bit under the weather, which was why he missed their last game. But I think it'll be really interesting to see him at this ground as we talk about, I think if we look across the season so far, it's been about 190 has been the cut-off that you need to get if you're going to have a chance to win any games. I don't think a score below 190 has been defended yet, and you can probably add a little bit of tax to that at the Chinnaswamy usually. So Wood's big task is to keep RCB down to something below that Lucknow can get down pretty easily. But it's, as we say, it's an unforgiving ground to bowl on, especially as an express pace bowler.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the point Matt Roller makes 190. If we just have a look at the numbers too, we'll see that no one's defended anything less than that. So that's a pattern that's developing. And we also know the average numbers in the power play have been higher. So it's been an inflated year, so to speak.
Yeah, I personally, I think, and it'll be interesting to hear Wasim's view on this, but I think that the impact player has had a big impact on that, in that everyone's batted a position deeper this season. If you think last season your team might bat to number 6 or 7, but then that position is effectively, because you have the luxury of being able to bring in an extra batter for your batting innings, you can bat a position deeper. So if you batted to 7 last year, you bat to 8 this year, or 6 and 7, or whichever it is. And I think that, whether or not the player themselves has an impact, it's about the mindset shift that it creates for the top order, because it's so much more liberating if you know that you can go out and score runs, rather than have a position where you sort of feel like you have to be shackled.
Yeah, you almost know, with the privilege of having to announce your team after the toss and playing an extra bat if you bat first. Is that the reason? Wasim, maybe your thoughts on that? We are seeing higher numbers in the power play. We're seeing higher numbers generally in the first 10, 11 games of the IPL than previous seasons, even seasons that were played in India. Have you found a reason for that?
I think it's just because of good cricket. I don't think it's got to do with impact player. Yeah, I mean, it feels like at times you can play with 12 players. You can give teams two different teams depending what you're doing. But the impact player actually hasn't put on that much impact as yet. I mean, Dhruv Jorel has done well, and we've seen a couple of good performances. But sometimes it can get even confusing. You probably put your best 11, and then if you need somebody, then you can use it. But I feel it's just that the teams have batted really well. Very aggressively, everyone, and that is probably because of that. I don't think impact player has played so much role as yet. But I think it's a good thing. The team can use it, and the players who are sitting outside, they also play a part. So I feel it's a good thing.
All right, fair enough. LSG are bowling first, so they've picked up the early advantage. You think the record when it was 11 versus 11 certainly did favour the teams chasing. It shouldn't change much with the impact player, but it's an important toss to win always at Bangalore. Mark Wood plays, as we've confirmed. Let's have a conversation perhaps on what his best use is, and I think it's a conversation worth having beyond just Mark Wood too, Teddy. We're seeing some breakaway fast bowlers, or those tearaway fast bowlers, the Umran Maliks, Mark Wood, Lockie Ferguson, Andrik Nokia, and they've had impact already in the early parts of the IPL. Now this is a test for him at the Chinnaswamy.
Yep. How
How best is a Mark Wood used, or how best are these kind of bowlers used?
I think, first of all, I think it depends who your other bowlers are as well. That can change things. Yeah, if you've got a good swing bowler up front, or if you've got a spinner that can bowl in the power play quite well, that changes things as well. But for me, I like to see him with a new ball, 1 over. They're effective. Usually, express bowlers are effective through the middle, so maybe 2 through the middle, and you'd hope if you can hit Yorkers 1 at the death. It sounds traditional, but that's how I would normally like to see it go.
When you say 1 at the top of the new ball, you mean the first over, the second
Well, I think
over?
if you bowl 150, if you've got someone that bowls 150, look, it can go both ways with a new ball. It can be messy, but it can be messy the other way if if he happens to go through a couple of guys with a new ball early on. It can shut the game out type thing. It can change the game completely. So I always think if you've got a guy like Wood bowling at that pace, why not chuck him the new ball? See if he takes 1 or 2 wickets in his first over, and then bring him back for 2 in the middle. Why not?
Is there a pattern that is common between these types of bowlers as to when they're most effective?
Well, I think we've seen throughout the past couple of years these express pace bowlers do particularly well in the middle overs. I think if we talk about the guys that you've already mentioned, people like Alzari Joseph as well, who obviously took a couple of wickets yesterday, having come back maybe a little earlier than he usually would be used. So I think if we see there, you have people, and Wood in particular has been so effective in that middle phase, and it'd be interesting actually, Shaun, to sort of get your thoughts as to why that is. I suppose particularly the contrast between an express pace bowler and then spinners, who we usually see in the middle, must be pretty unsettling for batters. Is that what you found in your own career?
Yeah, I think if you're in the middle overs, there's a period of 3-4 overs there where you can noodle things around, set the game up for the back end type thing. I believe when you've got a guy bowl 150, you've got something else to worry about. You're going to worry about getting hurt, and he can go through and get you out. So all of a sudden, you're not so settled at hitting the guys on the boundary and just cruising through the middle overs. So when you've got someone bowling that pace, you've got other things to think about. And the fact is, usually express fast bowlers are wicket takers. So, for someone like Mark Wood, if he bowls 2 overs in the middle, he gets a couple of batsmen out. You don't have to bowl to them in the last 4 overs. So.
Let me get Wasim's thoughts on as an opening batter and someone who now works with top opening batters, as to when he feels this, which is supposed to be your X factor or your X factor weapon, is most effective. Wasim, we're seeing there's a debate on when you want to use these bowlers. They don't always end up being the best death bowlers. We saw Lockie Ferguson struggle yesterday. Umran Malik, there are question marks on how he bowls at the death, or when surfaces are very friendly for batting, or when batters are comfortable with pace. There's Mark Wood today. What's his best use?
Well, I agree to Tait a little bit. 1 over at the start will be handy, even though it will be Virat and Faf who will be used to this pace. But there's a difference between somebody bowling 140 and somebody bowling close to 150. That's a big difference. It's a very unforgiving ground, without a doubt. I mean, those short balls can go for sixes. He would have liked. He plays in Lucknow, his home game. That is a bigger ground where he would love to bowl those shorter balls. At Bengaluru, those balls can fly. But if he gets it right, he hits that hard length, and that can get wickets. And if Bangalore batting lineup depends a lot on those two guys. If he gets one of them out, he can squeeze into that middle order, which hasn't performed yet. So 1 over in the top, probably couple in the middle, and then one in the death. Somebody bowling at 150, if he gets it right, he can get it through.
It looks like 1-2-1 is the consensus across.
It's going to change, obviously, depending on who the captains are. I mean, our opinion's different, obviously, but I think, that's...
But you most enjoyed this role? Did you most enjoy it?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I myself, I think, as a fast bowler, if you're a bit erratic as well, like I was, you have a bit more, you feel like you've got a bit more freedom in the middle overs. You're a bit safer. You can bowl your bouncer. The guys are back. At the death, that you're under more pressure, so you go, oh, should I bowl a bouncer? Because if it goes for 6, that's trouble. But in the middle overs, it's a safer time to bowl if you're bowling 150 and try and take wickets. Yeah.
Do you believe also that the bouncer is underutilized by bowlers with this skill, with the skill we speak of, the one you had?
Yeah, I think so as well. And we're going to touch on it again, but eventually. But I think instead of the extra slower ball or whatever it might be, you've got the bouncer. A guy that bowls 150. If you bowl 135. There's some other skills you need to have. I think as a guy that's bowling around 150, it's simply you've got your Yorker, your pace on delivery on the top of the stumps, or your back of length, and your bouncer. So your slow ball's not always hugely effective, but your bouncer is, if that makes sense.
Not a lot of these guys even have good slow balls. Fair to say, the ones we talk about.
There's an interesting name, actually, who for obvious reasons isn't playing in this competition, but someone Shaun's worked with recently, in Harris Ralph, who has really developed that slower ball over the past couple of years, and it has a slower ball that sort of even comes out at about 80 miles an hour because of the fact his quicker ball's so quick, and that's been really effective. But then a lot of these guys that we're talking about, for example...
Would you classify Harris Ralph in the same category of tearaway, though?
Yeah.
150 plus?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay, go on.
But and then Wood, for example, is kind of gone the opposite way, where I think at various points in his one-day career he's looked to develop slower balls, but at the moment he's in a position where he's just running in and bowling as quick as he can pretty much every ball of the spell, and it's an interesting contrast.
He's got a really good bouncer. Mark Wood's bouncer is really good. It's off and on song. I know when I was with the Pakistan team, he ripped through us with a short ball. So yeah, he's got that.
We were just watching Umran Malik in that first game against Rajasthan, where on an absolutely flat track, Butler and Sampson bowlers who enjoy pace aren't intimidated by it, no movement. You felt like Umran can't trouble them.
Yeah.
Anything they do, they're going to help the master, and that's when you think, can he do something else? Can he develop a slower ball? Do you sense that's easy to do?
I think it's not easy. No, I think it takes. All your energy is going into bowl 150, whether it's in your mind or physically. There's so much to think about doing that. You don't often have the same amount of time or to try and develop 3 slower balls, for example. I think someone like Umran, I think one good slower ball, if he just masters one good slower ball, masters his Yorker, then that's a completely different bowler.
So so the time you spend training in the net versus the time, let's say, who would you classify as an orthodox seam bowler who played alongside you? McGrath's a bit before. McGrath's unique.
I'm not going to compare.
Gillespie or
whoever it may be. Someone that is bowling, is a mid 130s bowler. The bowls.
Right. So let's say Umran and Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Clearly, there's a difference.
So I think often I don't know their personal, but I think trying to bowl 150 kilometres an hour for an hour and a half in the nets is not really doable for over the course of a career. So I think you've got a small amount of time maybe to work on things. So I think you're expected to bowl fast all the time. That's the other expectation you have as that sort of player. So you spend all your energy trying to do that. So I think instead of the second slow ball, the third slow ball, make sure your bounce is really good. And I think the biggest one is making sure you've got a good Yorker at that pace. If you've got a good Yorker at that pace, everyone forgets about your slow ball pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, Wasim's listening patiently. Let's get him involved in this chat as well. Fascinating to just hear about what makes these sort of tearaway fast bowlers effective, Wasim, but they can also sort of get it wrong often. We talk about the Umran Malik example. Just give me your thoughts as well from what you're listening to with Shaun.
Well, I think talking about Imran, I feel, his length has become a little more consistent. He hits that back of a length very often, what I've seen him lately. Uh, but like we have said even last time, that he needs to develop a couple of balls if he needs to be good in T20 cricket, whether that's a slow ball or a Yorker. Because sometimes on Indian pitches, you kind of enjoy, somebody bowling at pace. Sometimes you can line them up. And it's not like Australia where that bounce is going to trouble you a lot. But sometimes the batters can line you up if it's coming out nicely. So having a couple of other deliveries, I think it will help. And that's the reason why sometimes we see when he doesn't get it right, he's very expensive. So he does need to, especially in T20 cricket, he does need to develop a couple of balls. The Yorker is obviously is one. He bowls a bouncer, but if he has one slow ball at least, that'll uh, you know will put something in the batter's mind. They can't line them up so easily. So I think he needs to work on those variations a little bit.
Yeah, do you sense also the bouncer is a more reluctant ball when you play at grounds like the Chinnaswamy?
Yeah.
Mark Wood might want to bowl it, but he knows even if he wins and gets the top edge.
Yeah, I think that the main thing with a bouncer, I think, is knowing when to bowl it. And yeah, you got certain games or grounds where you shouldn't overuse it possibly. But I still think as a captain, it's nice, or when you're a fast bowler, it's nice the captain just goes, if you want to bowl your bouncer, bowl it by all means whenever you feel like it. That's a good thing to hear as a fast bowler. I think you don't want to you don't want to cage that up too much. I think you want to let someone like Mark Wood just go bowl, even on small grounds, bowl your bouncer, try and take wickets for us. That's his job.
Yeah, we some tried the bouncer to Dhoni at the death of the Chepauk, which became perhaps the shot that'll be seen around the world and become the picture of the IPL. He's not a great death bowler, or is he all right and just had an off day at Chennai?
I would suggest that similarly to, as we've said, I think he's most effective in that middle phase, just as the enforcer almost. And I think Wood's ideal combination would probably be to bowl 2 at the end of the power play and then 2 sort of in the middle overs when we sort of see these trends, don't we, emerge in T20 cricket where there's been a period of time where a lot of good players have become you have this role of spin hitters in the middle overs who are specialists at number 4 at playing against spin, and then we've had this probably over the past few years. I think these guys who have emerged in the middle overs have been coming as enforcers. So the guys they're taking on the guys who are there for a different role. And if you can keep someone guessing as a captain, that's the crucial thing I think in this format of the game is to be a step ahead of the batting team, basically. If they're sending out a guy because they think it's going to neutralise the threat of a left-arm spinner or a leg spinner or whoever it is, then having the luxury of options and being able to throw the ball to Mark Wood is huge. And I think that's particularly noticeable, actually, in the Lucknow team because they've, throughout their existence as a franchise, have always had loads of bowling options.
Yep.
Loads of batters in the top 6 who can bowl a few overs. And when you have that means that in any situation, if someone comes in to try and milk around the spinners, you can throw the ball to Mark Wood. If someone's come in because they're a good player of high pace, you can throw the ball to Krunal Pandya or Ravi Bishnoi or whoever it might be.
Yeah, makes for a good team. Whether the impact players nullified the odd all-rounder or 2, we saw it was very handy in the last game against Sunrisers. Pandya bowling his entire spell. They went all-out spin then. Let's have a look at the Lucknow team who are bowling first up. And interestingly, Quinton de Kock, it seems like, must wait his turn. Simple as that. He's now been with the franchise for a while. We're not sure if there's any injury or niggle, but we haven't heard from the franchise if there is such a case. Avesh Khan and Mark Wood both return. They both missed out in the last game. And it looks like Yash Thakur will have to sit out as Jaydev Unadkat keeps his place, and so too does Amit Mishra. So it's a different team. There are 2 out-and-out leg spinners. You've got Unadkat with his experience, Avesh Khan and Mark Wood, and you'll also have bowling options on the left of screen with Mayers, Huda, Krunal Pandya, perhaps Stoinis, so lots of options there. But Yash Thakur did have a pretty decent game last time around. Wasim, take me through the selection calls. Wood and Avesh, once fit, were always going to come back, but they've persisted with 2 leg spinners. Thoughts?
Yeah, I probably thought Amit Mishra might not play because of the dimension of the ground. He bowls really slow, and then the batters can line him up a little bit. So I thought probably Yash Thakur might have played. So a little bit surprising on that front. But again, he's got so much experience. He's bowled here plenty of times, and he's got a lot of variations in his armory. So it'll be interesting to see. But other than that, they've got plenty of bowling option. Mark Wood coming back obviously strengthens their team. So does Avesh Khan. They've got plenty of options, bowling options at different stages. Uh, you know, Quinton de Kock not playing actually surprised me. I thought maybe he might have played and Marcus Stoinis might have missed out because he's not looking, look, he hasn't scored runs or looked in form. Probably they would have stuck with Kyle Myers and probably bring in Quinton de Kock, but that hasn't happened. But other than that, they look a pretty strong team.
Yeah, I think there are the 2 points we need to bring up here. One is de Kock and the other is the choice of Mishra. But sticking to de Kock, you think in any T20 team, de Kock is the sure shot, no matter when he's available, no matter how anyone else's form is or what anyone else's form is.
I think maybe Mayers is going pretty good. That's probably the thing, isn't it? I suppose. And he gives you that bowling option as well. He's a luxury, and because he's had a good start to the tournament, I suppose that's what it is. But obviously, Stoinis is the other one that's probably going to come up. Maybe they're just saying, look, we're sitting okay at the moment. We've had a decent start to the tournament. Maybe we'll give Stoinis another go. I don't know.
You can't end it by saying I don't know.
Well, as in, I don't know what they're thinking.
Give me a good reason.
I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm guessing maybe they've got a luxury with Mayers that they can give Stoinis a longer run.
What is unique here is if we put on paper, Matt, that you could just play Mayers and de Kock. So that tends to change everyone's role. So while it looks like Stoinis hasn't done much, he's not being used with the ball, just get de Kock in. It's not as straightforward.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to note is that Andy Flower as a coach has been massive over the time he's been on the franchise circuit of having that balance of left and right-handers. And that Lucknow team would get pretty heavy on left-handers when you think about Mayers, Puran, Krunal Pandya, putting de Kock in there as well. Potentially get yourself into a situation where if the opposition had anyone who could turn the ball away from the bat, you're suddenly looking quite one-dimensional, whereas Stoinis obviously adds to that balance between right and left-handers. So I wonder if that's a reason why you wouldn't go for both de Kock and Mayers, and also the stability of roles, as you say. Yeah,
listening to match point, Wasim, are you still shocked that de Kock doesn't make this team? Just final word from you on it.
Well, I can understand why he's not there because Kyle Mayers have got the opportunity. He's done well. He gives another option with the ball too, and probably Marcus Stoinis is playing because it's a ground. Probably they would like Stoinis to come good. He comes in at number 5 and 6. So rather than the Indian finisher playing, they have backed Marcus Stoinis. So it does make sense, and they want to continue with Kyle Mayers, who looks in good form. So it's a selection dilemma, and I can totally understand. Probably Quinton de Kock will have to wait.
Okay, Wasim's with the point. He's surprised Mishra is playing. Is there a matchup there, perhaps? Lots of leg spin against RCB?
Well, I think if you think back to their most recent game at Eden Gardens, they really struggled against those two mystery spinners, didn't they? And Varun Chakravarti and Sunil Narayan. And then even against Suyash Sharma, the 19-year-old uncapped leg spinner, he's sort of come from nowhere. So I wonder if that's a big part of it, is especially, you have the option of getting one of them on pretty early now. I wonder if one of them will bowl in the power play at Faf and Kohli, who are potentially if you had to pick a weakness in their games, you would potentially say leg spin. Yeah,
you'd think Gautam Gambhir is on top of this. He tends to know teams where Kohli is featuring in the opposition quite well. And this was a very motivational team talk as well before the game.
Couldn't help yourself, could you?
Yes, they did.
No, I was just going to say they've got Krunal going the same way as well, so it's a big threat for him,
Yeah, 3 spinners who can turn the ball away from right-handers. But there are some left-handers in that RCB side. Let's have a look at them, because Mahipal Lomrod will play his first game. He's actually ended up being a bit of a regular for RCB towards the end of last season. In fact, they've overdone the leg. It's a big game of chess at the moment. There are lots of left-handers in that team. There's Lomrod and Anuj Rawat has been brought in. This is the batting first playing 11, remember. You already have Shahbaz Ahmed. Wayne Parnell will play. He replaces... But David Willey's in that, so let me just have a quick look at that team because they've changed things up. There are 4 overseas. They have left out Akashdeep for starters. Michael Bracewell has gone out, and that's how they've reshuffled their side. So this is an interesting team where you've got Parnell and Willey now as 2 left-handers. perhaps looking at the matchups themselves. So there are left-hand batters here
I think
too.
it's almost like the main guys are your right-handers too.
Yes,
The main
Faf,
the guys,
Kohli, Maxwell, Karthik.
They want those guys out. So that's
Well, it's quite an interesting point in the season for RCB, isn't it? Because if you think about their strongest 11 on paper that they put together at the auction, it had both Josh Hazlewood and Wanindu Hasaranga in.
Yeah.
Neither of them have been available for their first couple of games, and presumably Hasaranga's not arrived in time to be considered tonight. So, I'm sure RCB will be thinking that if they can get out of those first 3 games with neither of those big gun overseas bowlers available, and have 2 wins and a defeat, that would be a brilliant start to the season for them on paper. But on the other hand, if they're 1 and 2, they might be thinking maybe we should have prioritised availability.
They have a number 3 situation, don't they, Wasim? Rajat Patidar's ruling out was a big blow for them. And they were trying Michael Bracewell. DK came in the first game and there was just a few runs to get. But looking at the amount of spinners that Lucknow are playing today to turn the ball away from the right-hander, that could very well become a crucial tactical move. How they use Lomro, how they use Shabazz, perhaps. How would you like to see them go about that?
Well, I think Anuj Rawat probably looks like he can bat at number 3 because he opens in domestic circuit, so he's better suited. And I think he had a very good inning against MI last season. I remember opening the batting, so he probably suits better. I'm surprised that they haven't used David Willey as well. He's a pretty good striker of the ball at top of the order. He bats, opens the batting for Yorkshire in T20 Blast, so he can be handy. And then they've got plenty of options after that. But they need, Maxi to do well, Dinesh Karthik to come good. They haven't been in the same kind of form, which puts so much pressure on Faf and Virat Kohli. So those guys need to come good when they start batting. But those middle order need to strike. But they've got plenty of option in this 11.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty fascinating game. It's like everyone's kind of tactically switched on today for the other team because there are options, right? It makes for a tough question when we tend to think what they'll get over here because it's a good bowling attack. They didn't play the strongest bowling attack in the form of Mumbai. Last time out did RCB. This is different. There's Mark Wood. There's lots of spin away from the right-hander. Matt, go first.
Well, it's a high-scoring ground, so I think we've got to bear that in mind. I think they might get about 190, but I'm not sure whether that'll actually be a defendable total on this pitch.
190.
You're right. The bowling attack and the matchups and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to go 175 just for.
You think Lucknow will bowl well here?
Yeah.
Jaydev Unadkat as the new ball, Wasim. It was interesting they went for him ahead over Yash Thakur. And he is taking the new ball here. Just give me your reasons for Unadkat keeping his place for a big game like this on a tough ground and your first inning score prediction as well.
Probably experience, and again, he's coming from a very good domestic, season, and he's played on this ground so many times. Yash Thakur is pretty new to the IPL circuit, so probably and a left-hander angle as well. So I feel, if Kohli and Faf gets going, probably 190 will be a good start. This batting lineup looks really good, so I think Mark Wood is the only threat. If they negate him really well, I think 190. Looks a good score.
Okay, well, let's see how things go. This is a batting lineup that did find themselves in trouble when they lost Kohli and Faf last game. So we'll see how things pan out. Big thank you to Wasim, Jaffer, Matt Rawler, Shaun Tait. More from them when we've seen 20 overs of cricket and what promises to be a good one. Shaun Tait says 175, Matt and Wasim say 190. Let's go for 200. I always want 200. 200. Let's see if they get there. Join us on ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Download our mobile app as well. So many nice things written yesterday and said about Rinku Singh. We're still living that. The aftermath of the game at Ahmedabad. And you'll have all the latest news from the world of cricket on the ESPN Cricket for mobile app. We'll see you at the end of the RCB innings.